I'm an avid hiker. I'm pretty outdoorsy. And at the beginning of this year, one of my girlfriends who does a lot of hiking with me, she mentions that her mom every year organizes a group of women to hike the Grand Canyon rim to rim in one day. So you start about 5 o'clock in the morning, you hike all the way down the Grand Canyon, all the way back up, and you do it in one day. And I had never even seen the Grand Canyon, so I thought this was a perfect opportunity to experience it in all its glory. So I said, yes, sign me up. So my friend Lindsay, she says, well, you know, we're going to be hiking with this group of 15 60-year-old plus women from Oklahoma. I said, that's great. I'll make some friends. It'll be wonderful. We've got a good 14-hour hike to really get to know one another. So in the course of training to hike the Grand Canyon, her mom starts a Facebook group so that we can all share information and tips on how to train and where you should be in your training at this point. And as each lady in the group starts making posts, they're very pious, I see. Each post is about appreciating God's beauty and thanking Jesus and things like that. And then as we start to go further along in our training and our hikes from week to week, where we should be, you know, at a certain point, we should be hiking 10 miles this week. We should be up to this point. And her mom posts in the Facebook group, she says, hey ladies, here's a tip. Now that our training hikes are getting a lot longer, why don't we all post our favorite Bible verse? And we'll exchange Bible verses, and that way, while we're on these long hikes, we might as well make use of our time and memorize Bible verses. And I say to Lindsay, do I have to be a part of this? And she's like, no, of course not. Everything's optional. She's like, you know, this is my mom. All these ladies, I guess I didn't mention, this is my mom's Christian group, and this is they're not just, you know, fitness freaks who happen to be Christians. These are Christian ladies who happen to enjoy fitness from time to time. There's a clear distinction. So when it gets time for the actual hike, this was in May, and we all meet in Arizona. We all meet in Scottsdale, Arizona, because we're coming from different parts of the country. And here's the other thing about me, in addition to the fact that I love hiking, is I'm also very political. And I actually do enjoy engaging people with opposing views. And I started doing this because of the fact that I live in a very comfortable liberal bubble. So I started to initiate conversations with people with opposing views because I need to understand where they're coming from. My friend Lindsay knows this about me. So she says before the hike, she's like, Tamra, you know that all of these women are Trump supporters. And I'm like, I suppose that I should know that, yes. She says, please do me a favor. Do me a personal favor. Do not engage in any sort of political conversation with them. Just don't go there. And I'm like, oh boy, here we go. This is gonna be the tough part. We start the hike at 5 o'clock in the morning. Okay, first of all, I'm a comedian. I do a lot of shows late at night. So I gave Lindsay's mom a heads up ahead of time. In order to start the day that early the next morning, I needed to bring a little bit of pot with me the night before in order to fall asleep by 8 o'clock, because my body can't do that normally. So I gave them a heads up that that's what I would be doing. So that's what I did the night before. I figured nobody was none the wiser. This was just my thing. We're all on the van at 4 a.m. in the morning, starting the hike on the Grand Canyon, 5 a.m., fresh-faced, all ready to go. Everybody's in a great mood, and it is beautiful outside. So we start the hike, and we realize that we have this full day ahead of each other to really get to know each other and just find out what everybody's lives are and things like that. So as I'm descending, and the first part of the hike, as the sun is rising, you're surrounded by these red rocks, and you see the shadows, and it's just beautiful, and the sun is rising up over the Grand Canyon. And I'm commenting on the beauty of the rocks, and one of the ladies, Susie, tells me that she's a geologist. That's what her profession is. She travels all around the world studying stones. And it's interesting how we need to appreciate what we have right now, because certain things have been happening where pressure is changing and certain rocks and mountains are changing in a certain way. And I really want to ask Susie her thoughts on climate change at this point. But Lindsay gives me a look and she can see where I'm going and she's like, Tamra, don't. And I'm, okay, no problem, fine. We'll just keep on going. Head on a few miles as the day goes by. The sun comes up, it gets hotter, it's hotter. We're out through what they call the meadow. That's when you get towards the lower part of the Grand Canyon. It's just kind of meadowland. You're like at the bottom. It's very hot at this point in the day. You've peeled off all of your layers. And as we're walking, I start talking to Carol, who says, this is a flat part. It's not really strenuous. She says to me kind of in a whispered voice, I don't know if you're interested, but I happen to bring some gummy bears that are marijuana gummy bears. I just thought we could microdose if you're interested. So then I'm like, so you think that marijuana should be legal? And Lindsay shoots me another look. Don't say anything. Don't engage. Just ignore it. Okay, I won't say anything. Keep on walking. The hike is amazing. We cross the Colorado River. We wade in the water for a little bit. You don't want to waste too much time because you're really trying to make a certain amount of time and get to the upper rim on the other side before the sun goes down. So now we're on the other side of the canyon and we're ascending, and at this point you're exhausted and you're tired, and it's feeling never ending. And we get to a point where there's a lot of switchbacks as you're getting up towards the end, and it just feels like it's never going to end. And at this point, this woman, Candace, is talking to me all about how when we're finished, she will bring out her essential oils, and she will give our feet massages if we're interested, because essential oils have so many healing properties to them that people don't realize. And tea tree does this, and lavender does this. And then she says to me, and another thing people don't realize is that you have to put them on pressure points, because your body actually has these different energy points inside them that people don't realize. And as she's explaining this to me, I'm like, Candace, are you into Eastern medicine? Oh yeah, absolutely. And the energy points in your bodies, like chakras? Oh yeah, so I'm realizing that Candace is sort of a little more open-minded to other religious, spiritual beliefs, and Lindsay shoots me another look and is telling me not to engage, don't ask any questions. So we continue to ascend, and the final 3 miles actually the final 2 miles of the hike are the absolute longest, because in your head you're thinking 1 mile, 2 miles, I can finish that normally walking in about 10 minutes. But those final 2 miles, because you're already exhausted and there's so many switchbacks, and you just keep looking at the top of the rim of the canyon that just never, ever, ever seems to get any closer. And those are the hardest last 2 miles. So I ascend the canyon and finally finish it, and it took 14 hours to hike this 26 miles down the Grand Canyon and back up. And it was exhausting and exhilarating, but even harder than the hike was being forced to not ask any questions to these somewhat liberal ladies who all happen to vote for Trump. Thank you.
Tamra Brown, ladies and gentlemen.